Welcome back to another episode. This is your boy Joseph Perez on Code Bruh. This episode is going to be crazy, and I'm going to get a lot of kickback on this one. But you know what? I don't care, because the reason for having a voice is to express how you feel and the truth behind what it is that you're thinking. Today's episode is about cheating. And if you got cheated on, it was most likely your fault. Now, nobody wants to hear this. I know this, right? But sometimes getting cheated on, it just isn't about the cheater. It's about you. Now, this is not going to be about victim blaming, okay? It's about exploring accountability and understanding the dynamic of relationships. You got to see it all from a different angle. So, today's episode will dive into how we might unconsciously contribute to relationship breakdowns, cheating, the psychology of infidelity, and how to avoid repeating toxic patterns. So without further ado, the number one podcast for women who need a sidekick and a voice for men. Let's dive in. Now, let's talk about overview of the common reasons for cheating. There's 3 of them. Probably more, but in my opinion, from my experience and all the research that I've done, it's unmet emotional and physical needs, boredom, and lack of connection, particularly that in the bedroom. If there is a disconnect in the bedroom, 100% it's very likely that somebody's going to step out of your marriage, step out of your relationship. Point blank, period. It is what it is. If you're born in the bedroom, that's your fault. You should have learned how to treat a man. You should have learned how to have sex with a man. You should have learned how you need to keep a man. You should have done the research. You should have done the study. Now, if you are a man listening to this, same thing. If a woman stepped on you, that's your fault. It's not bias, male or female. But if you got cheated on, it's your fault, not the other person's fault. I'm about to get kicked back on this one. All right, so let's dive a little bit more into it. So we know that cheating is a choice. It is. It's a choice to cheat, to step out of your relationship. But often, it's a symptom of a deeper relationship issue, period. If you were having so many issues in your relationship, they were just building blocks to the reason why somebody did what they did on you, had an affair, cheated on you. Your fault. That was your fault because you didn't see the blind spots. You didn't see all the things that went wrong. And in fact, you probably noticed them, but you disregarded them because you hoped that the relationship was going to work itself out all on its own. Terrible play on your part. That's your fault. Now, let's talk about other things that matter most, right? Like societal and psychological factors influencing infidelity. We know that in this world, there's a lot of people that are on social media. For one, for instance, social media is big on this. You see a lot of beautiful women and beautiful men working out, looking good, physique, showing half their bodies, being very sexual, very easily to get off track, right? If your relationship is weak, chances are, if that person is on social media, they're going to probably get sidetracked, especially if there's somebody that they can rekindle that relationship with, for somebody in the past, at high school or whatever. Very easily can somebody get into an affair from social media. We know this, especially knowing that easy access to porn. Porn is another one. Porn is so out there. It's free. It's crazy what's out there. People get into the series of watching porn, and it just builds that desire to want to find that elsewhere, especially if you're not having that in the relationships. That was your fault. What did you do? What did you play as a factor in that role for that person to step out of that relationship? It's not always the person who did the cheating. It was your fault. Take some accountability for the actions and the lack thereof for the reason why they did what they did. Now, again, this is going to get crazy. All right. I'm not even in 5 minutes and this is going to get deep. But listen, I'm just telling you like it is because there's no more sugarcoating. I'm tired of people coming into me asking questions about the relationship and I'm giving them some of the basics. But there's a reality truth behind the reasons why people do what they do. And I'm giving it to you straight up. All right. So let's get into it. So we want to break down some of the ways that people might unwillingly contribute to a partner's dissatisfaction. Now I'm going to name just a few. Okay. We understand that lack of communication is a big one. Lack of communication or emotional availability, huge. If there's no communication, there's no trust, no relationship. Forget about it. Out the window. If you are understanding of this and you are aware of this, that this is not something that happens in your relationship where there's no connection, there's no trust, no communication, understand you're going to get cheated on. And you know why? Because there's no connection, no trust. Your fault. What did you do that contributed to that person not being able to trust you, to communicate with you? Think about it. Neglecting intimacy or just taking a partner for granted. You can't neglect someone's sexual desires. If somebody says, I want you to go down on me, and you don't, guess what? They're going to find it elsewhere. If you just ignore that, like, yeah, I don't do that. Okay, respectfully. But in the back of their mind, they're going to find it elsewhere because that's something that they desire. We often chase the things that we desire most, not the things that we just want. And if that's something that we desire, especially a sexual fulfillment that is lacking thereof, trust me, they're going to find it elsewhere. And it's your fault because you actively, purposely denied it, not understanding their true intention, hoping that they would be fulfilled. Okay, you can't take a partner for granted. Don't disrespect somebody and expect that things are going to be perfect. You're going to have this long, lengthy relationship and everything's going to be perfect. It's not. You start disrespecting somebody, you start not showing appreciation for the things, for everything that they do, I guarantee you somebody's going to step out of that relationship. I did it. No saint. I had an affair in one of my previous relationships. And I understand this to be true. As a therapist, I know the reasons behind it, why I did what I did. And I understand it from the other person's point of view, why they didn't do the things that they didn't do. So I understand. Let me help you understand. Don't take somebody for granted. Always appreciate every little single detail that they do, because if not, they're always going to find it somewhere else. 100% bottom line, I don't care what you say about it. Your fault. You have an obligation in a relationship to uphold your bargain and you play your role. And sometimes you got to play the other person's role. That's what's called being a team. Be a team player. When somebody's down, you bring them up. Vice versa. Third, ignoring the red flags and not addressing problems early on. You can't ignore the flags. If you see something and you think that is off, chances are there's a reasoning behind it and you have to do investigation. You have to not let it pass by you because it's going to compile. And eventually it's going to get too overwhelming to the point where there will be a breakup. Or there's so much involved that they don't want to break up to hurt your feelings. They're going to find it elsewhere. That's why affairs happen. That's why cheating happens. Because there's things that are being unfulfilled in that relationship. You got to address those problems so early on in the relationship. From dating to understanding the points of views of that person and into the relationship. If there is something that is a red flag, don't see it as a bad thing. Address it. Have that complicated conversation for you to make sense of it. If you don't, it's your fault. You chose to take the easy way out. Now, let's start taking accountability without blaming. Okay. We don't want to do the blame game. It's too much. It's so easy to blame someone else for something that you don't want to take initiative on, something that you don't want to take accountability with. It's very easy. Okay. I want to encourage you. I want you to reflect on your behavior this time. If you're a person that got cheated on, what did you not do in that relationship? Because the reasons why relationships do not succeed oftentimes is because we failed to understand the things that we did not do. And worse, we just failed, knowing that there were blind spots that we could not see. That's a sad way to end a relationship because you did not have the relationship IQ. Your fault. Now, let's talk about some patterns or habits, right? What are some of the habits that you brought into that relationship? Traumas, things that were toxic in the relationship. What are some of those signs that you ignored in the relationship? Conversations that you avoided. Don't ever avoid any of these things. If you want to grow, the reasons why we grow is because we do the things that are hardest most. And if we continuously do them, we could become better because when they come again, because they will, it's easier for us to handle them, maneuver around conversations or experiences because we have experience, we have wisdom, we have insight. Don't avoid hard conversations, period. If you do, your fault. Because you know what? If that person continues on in that relationship, knowing that something should have been addressed, you willingly accepted the negative into that relationship without fixing or correcting the problem. Your fault if you got cheated on. It was to let you know that we have to have a conversation about this one particular topic, and you chose to disregard it. Your fault. Don't run away from complications. Now, if you got cheated on, obviously it's hard. And I'm sorry it happened to you. It's happened to me before. And I know it's not a comfortable feeling. I've been on both sides. I've been on the side of being cheated on. I've been on the side of cheating. And I know it from both angles. When shit hits the fan and you have to come to grips of what you did, it's an embarrassing, sad, depressing feeling. Now, how do you heal from it is the question. How to heal and move forward. You got to set clear boundaries. You got to set the boundaries and expectations early on in that relationship. Asking qualifying questions. Have you cheated before? Simple. If that person says yes, they can do it again. And you set the expectation. Okay. If you accept that person regardless of what they have done in their past, and you said, okay, I understand, you get the story, set that expectation and that boundary. Don't ever do that to me. And if you do, just tell me. I'm not going to be mad. I'm just going to accept what you say. Just understand that I cannot deal with infidelity. Period. You set the boundary. You set the expectation. So that way in their mind, they know that there's a possibility that they know that it can happen again. But if they come to that bridge, they know what to expect. Most people don't have these conversations because they're difficult and they want to put that full trust in them. But you have to set the boundary. Okay? Set that boundary and focus on personal growth and self-awareness. This is one of my biggest things that I love to harp on because people do not take the time to learn and study to become better and greater, a better person. Because you cannot expect to have a everlasting, fulfilling love and peace with a relationship partner without going through the personal growth. You have to become better, wiser, smarter, understand relationships, understand people, what people want, desires, communication. You have to not go through experience, because if you go through trial and error, you will fail and it will be your fault, because you could have prevented it by studying and learning how to be better, how to deal with a man, how to deal with a woman, how to communicate better, how to have a better relationship. What does love mean? Go into full detail of these things. Is what enables you to become a better person. If you don't, it's your fault, because you chose to go with your experience when you don't have any. You don't have any positive experience. You don't have wisdom in this topic and area. You need counsel, or you need to study personal growth, become better, become wiser in relationships. And I can guarantee you a everlasting love in a relationship. Now, I want to close off with something very powerful for you to understand if you've ever been cheated on. If you've been cheated on, it does not define you. Okay? It doesn't define you, but it's an opportunity to reflect and grow from it. Take this opportunity to learn what it has done to you and how it has changed you and your perception of life and relationships. And men or women, if you're a man looking at this, never settle for less than you deserve. You are stronger than what has happened. I just want to end off with this. I want you guys to share some of your stories. I want to learn from you. What is it that you have gone through, and how did you get through it? Share your wisdom on how to get somebody else out of a relationship that is toxic, or how to get through some of the challenging times. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we're all we have. We are only good as our team. Share some of those thoughts on infidelity. Okay? I want you to promote it on social media. This has to go viral for you guys. People need to understand that it's not always the person that did the cheating, but typically the person who got cheated on. That's the reasons why it led to that. Now, until next time, I love you. I appreciate you for all that you do and who you are. Like, share, and subscribe, because I got a lot more coming that is unfiltered for you.